Today's Coach's Corner. I figured we'd do something motivational. I try to get a motivational lesson out there today. And you know, I've been thinking about it, and probably the best way to do it is through story time. A lot of my wrestlers are used to story time. We do a lot of stories before practice. So I was trying to think of the most motivational story and how I could relate it to wrestling, and came up with the Wheedle on the Needle. A lot of really good connections to wrestling in this book. So let's go ahead and start out. The Wheedle on the Needle. Many, many years ago, before explorers sailed to the Northwest, there lived a large, happy creature called the Wheedle. Okay? He was pleasingly plump, covered in orange, fluffy fur, and he had a big, round, red nose. He spent his days sniffing flowers and enjoying the peace and quiet that nature offered. Okay, boys, how do you think that relates to early childhood development in wrestling? What do you think, buddy?
And can we play video games?
We'll get to the video games in a little bit, and you can go on a virtual run, okay? How this relates is like, you know, before you guys started, you guys just kind of played around as young kids, you know, and yes?
Where's the snacks you promised?
You'll get some snacks here in a minute, okay? So when he's young, he's not worried about, you know, competing in wrestling, right? This is all before he started. You know, like before you guys came to the junior club, right? And just like the big boys, right? Forever and a day, everything was peaceful until one afternoon, the Wheedle watched curiously as a large ship sailed into the bay. Laughing loudly, workers jumped from the ship and set about clearing the land and building this, that, and other things. As they worked and whistled, the more they worked and whistled, the more they whistled. All that whistling hurt the poor Wheedle's ears. The whistling continued night and day, and the Wheedle could get absolutely no sleep at all. With no sleep, he became grouchier and grouchier. Okay? How does that relate to what we do? Yes?
I don't know, but where's the snacks?
We'll get to it. So how this relates is the Wheedle hasn't taken ownership of his actions yet. So like you guys train, right? You guys aren't able to control how hard other people train. Like the Wheedle here, he didn't want those guys to work, but he couldn't control how much they worked. Does that make sense? You guys control how hard you work, okay? And so instead of worrying about things you can't control, you train hard and take ownership for your own actions, okay guys? All right, we'll continue then. Okay, so at precisely noon, not a minute before and not a minute after, the mayor met again with the Wheedle. In his hands, he had the largest pair of earmuffs ever seen. These earmuffs are like headgear, right? Okay? These earmuffs, said the mayor in his most political voice, with these on your ears, you won't hear a thing. You won't hear us whistle. You won't even hear the big whistles from the ships in the harbor or trains go by. The Wheedle put the earmuffs on, just like headgear, and he was surrounded by the delight of silence. He didn't hear kindly of folk cheering in Seattle. He didn't hear the end of the mayor's speech. With the earmuffs in place, he simply rolled over and fell fast asleep. So content was he that his big red nose again began to blink. Okay, so how's that relate to wrestling, boys? Let's think about a wrestling match right now. Okay? You got your earmuffs on, you got your headgear on, right? How are you wrestling if you hear your coach screaming at you? What's happening usually?
You can't really hear them.
No, in my experience, when you can hear your coach, you're probably losing, right? And you're stuck in a bad position, frozen. But when you're just flowing and wrestling out of reaction, and that's why we drill, right? So that we just respond, muscle reaction, right? So when you can't hear, you're happy like the Wheedle. It probably means you're winning and you're rolling and flowing, you know? But when you can hear all that other noise and all these other things going on around you, you're not in the zone to win, okay? So this is really about finding your place in wrestling and getting in the zone, okay, guys? So when you're in the zone, you're wrestling well, okay? And when you're worried about all these other things you can't control and you're hearing these noises, you know things aren't going so good. So we got to train hard, right? We got to get our muscle memory good, and then we'll be able to wrestle like the Wheedle. All right, guys? Okay. Well, that's our motivational talk today, boys. Thank you.